Backstage Knitting Podcast. Backstage Knitting Podcast. Backstage Knitting Podcast. Backstage Knitting Podcast. Grab your knitting and a cup of tea. Beth and Anna, what more could you need? It's the Backstage Knitting Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Backstage Knitting Podcast. I'm Bethany and this is episode 48 and it is Monday, October 15th, 2018. I want to thank everybody for joining us today, whether it's your first time or your 48th time. I really appreciate you giving me a chance and spending some time with me. Let's see, where you can find me out on the internet and in the rest of the world. You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Periscope as Backstage Knitting Podcast. You can also find Backstage Knitting Podcast on Ravelry, Backstage Knitting Podcast. Come on over, join our group. There is a getting to know you thread where you can tell me about yourself, where you're from, what do you like to work on or not work on, what other things do you like to do. You know, any information you feel like sharing, go ahead and post it and I respond and then you get a shout out on the show and that's pretty cool. I always like it when I hear my name on other people's shows. Makes me feel fancy. If you are listening to this podcast, thank you so much. If you don't mind, go ahead and subscribe. And if you wanted to leave us a rating and a review, I would really appreciate it. It helps other people find this show. And if you are watching on YouTube, go ahead and hit that subscribe button as well. I really appreciate it. Let's see, we got some knitting to talk about. I have been working on Paris and Berlin by Joji Locatelli, and I've been doing that in Bijou Basin Ranch, in their Gobi fingering, and that is 65% silk, 35% baby camel. It's in the Valhalla colorway. It's some really deep blues and like an aquamarine, tealy sort of color with some purple, and it's super soft and super luscious. I am enjoying working on it, but because it's mostly silk and that kind of has that same cottony, not as much give as just wool, it makes my hands a little more tired, a little faster than working on other woolly projects, but it is enjoyable nonetheless. I'm not as close to being done as I would like. I'm having some counting issues with that one. And it's nothing that I've had to rip out or put it in timeout, but there's a point where you stop working flat and then you join it and make it in the round, because it's a cowly triangle cowl, and at that point, once I joined it in the round, I should have counted my stitches and made sure that I was in the right place and ready to go, and I didn't. So I've done the first several pattern repeats, and I've kind of been faking it a lot. So one side may look a little funnier than the other, but you know, it is what it is. It's gonna be all bunchy around my neck. It's not causing me a whole lot of stuff to the point where I would actually rip it out. But I'm enjoying working with the yarn. I really like the pattern, and it's getting chilly around here, so I'm very excited to have it for my use. Let's see, what else? I cast on the Tegna top by Caitlin Hunter, and it's super pretty. The yarn, who I don't have the name of, the ball band, is at home. I am not. So I'll make sure I post that in my show notes, but it's this really pretty, super soft, like neon pink with some pretty blues and greens and purples, and it's absolutely lovely. I'm super into it. I'm slowly making my way through the lace chart because there's a lace chunk around the bottom, and then you work up and then you separate for the fronts and backs, and then it kind of has shorter sleeves. I'm going to a concert in the beginning of November, so I'm hoping I can really hustle and get it done, but but we'll see what happens there. I only had to cast it on twice, which I think is pretty darn good for 300 stitches. And yeah, I'm really, really enjoying it. The pattern has both the charted and the written out directions, but I'm really enjoying working with the chart. I know a lot of people really like the written directions, but I'm getting to a point where with the chart, I can kind of see what it's supposed to look like and how it's supposed to all come together, and I can't necessarily visualize that as completely in the written out directions. So it helps me know that I'm on the right track and I'm doing what I am supposed to. Let's see, I have also been working on my Port Gamble socks in Fairlight Fibers in the Oink Pigment Oink sock in the Listen Humans colorway. I've been doing that on the Addy Flexi Tip needles, which I'm actually liking more and more. The more I use them, the more I'm enjoying them. So this sock pattern has a garter stitch heel flap, and you do the flap and then you turn the heel and then you pick up your gusset. And I thought the Flexi Tip was really great for picking up the gusset, because then I had two needles that were kind of like, if you made an L and kind of put them together. So I had one part of the L doing my back of my heel stitches, and then that gusset, and then the next needle did my front of foot stitches and the second gusset. So, and it worked really well. It was definitely better than the straight double points. Yeah, so they're growing on me. Still think they may be a little bit pricey, but they are growing on me. And then I have cast on a combination between the Port Gamble socks by Fairlight Fibers and the new Swing Left socks by Megan Williams. And so basically what I'm doing is I'm taking the overall body sock pattern of the Fairlight Fibers socks, the Port Gamble socks, which have a short tutu rib. They're a little shortier socks, and then the heel, and then the foot. So I've done that, but instead of doing straight stockinette on the top, I'm doing the Swing Left chart pattern, which is great. And the Swing Left socks are part of the Little Skein in the Big Wool Sock the Vote campaign, encouraging everybody to go out and vote. Swing left, sock the vote, very, very important, and I will go more into that later. And I am doing those socks in the White Birch Fiber Arts in the Hellbent Feminist She-Devil colorway. So let's see, and I got a couple things in timeout. I didn't finish anything this week. I really tried to, and then I cast on a new top. So I did cast on the Swing Left socks once before to just do the regular Swing Left pattern as written, and I started it toe up because up until recently that was my preferred method to do things, and I did it on the size needle they suggested, and I cast it on. I did all my toe increases, and then it sat in my bag for 4 days because I was just like, it's gonna be too small and I don't like it. I didn't like it. So I ripped it out and then I recast it on with the Port Gamble cuff down situation. And as soon as I got done writing my show notes this morning, I was working on my Tegna top, and I wasn't paying complete attention to the chart because I was like, well, I figure I've already done a row like this before, and when you do the repeat so many times, you memorize it eventually, and I did it wrong, so I had to rip back 30-ish, no more than 30, probably 40 to 60 stitches. I had to tink back and start again. So that is what was sort of in timeout, but now they have been released from timeout. They are on their way to being beautiful, beautiful projects. Spinning and weaving. I have done no spinning this week. I wanted to, I meant to, and the week got away from me. I did, however, finish the weaving project that I had to do for my weaving basics class at the Nifty Knitter Shop in Issaquah. And my finished project, it was a scarf in Malabrigo. I think the warp was Rios and the weft was Nachita, I think. Whatever their fingering weight is. It turned out so pretty, and I gave it a bath, and it's kind of relaxed. And I mean, you can definitely see the tension issues between when I started and when I finished, and the improvement that was made, but it's still, it's soft and it's relaxed a little bit, and that's really, really nice, and I'm glad I finished that. And then in class, because I own my loom, we rewarped it, and there's a gray on it. I think I'm gonna do my mom's, like, whatever present on it, so more on that. Yeah, but so it's been warped and I haven't gotten further than that, you know, the way those sorts of things go. Netflix and knit. Well, I have done my usual serving of Gilmore Girls and Parks and Rec as time has allowed, and I've just had a couple free whatever to have something on. I restarted The West Wing, which is always so enjoyable. It's good comfort food, but it makes me think, and it's so well written. And if you have not watched The West Wing, you absolutely should. And if you have watched The West Wing, but you haven't listened to the West Wing Weekly podcast, you should do that as well, because it is delightful. I sort of got off track with it somewhere in season 4, but it's pretty awesome and thoroughly enjoyable. It gives you good insight into both, like, filming of the show, their interpretation of what happens in that episode. They talk to cast, they talk to other political people to kind of give you some perspective as to what was happening in the White House and in the country during that time or this time, or that's not really how this works or that works. And yeah, it's pretty cool. I also watched this week's episode of Saturday Night Live, which was pretty enjoyable. I like Seth Meyers. I saw Michael Che's comment and Clara Parks on Instagram, who wrote the Yarnlandia books and the Knitter's Big Book of Yarn and all of these other things, had quite a thing to say about Michael Che's joke on Weekend Update. And while I absolutely agree with her point, I think there's a bigger picture there. It's a very complicated issue. Yeah, as far as who is involved in things, where. So the context of the joke was, in order to get white women to recycle and take care of the planet, is to tell them that if we don't do that, there will be no yarn left, which is a valid concern. Clara Parks' thing was that it makes male fiber crafters and fiber crafters of color, makes them outliers, and further alienates them from a community where we want everybody to be involved, and that it was cheap. It was a cheap and racist joke. While I agree that we don't want the men and the crafters of color to be outliers, and we want big community involvement, because that's how we get better, that's how we learn, that's how we grow, and that's what we should all want. There is an issue regarding privilege, where sometimes white women, we just don't do what we should. We don't take care of our planet, we don't take care of our country, and I think that was the point. And when you look at who voted in the last election and who they voted for, white women certainly did not step up to the plate. And That's a real issue, and I think that is the underlying point of Michael Che's joke on Weekend Update on Saturday Night Live. Overall, though, rather enjoyable episode. So, what else did I watch? Oh, I also watched the new Doctor Who. I really like it. I'm liking this new lady doctor. I think there's a lot of potential there. I think she's very charming. I love that they put her in like practical boots instead of these ridiculous things, because when we do get female representation in a lot of media, they're wearing shoes where they're gonna break their ankles if they're actually doing the things we are supposed to believe that they are doing. And I don't like it. Practical footwear for everybody. Dang it. Yes. Okay. And then yesterday, I also had a rather like witchy Sunday, lays around, do a lot of knitting kind of thing. And I watched Practical Magic and Hocus Pocus and a few episodes of Charmed. And I thoroughly enjoyed them all. It was 90s-tastic. It was very, it was a good fall marathon kind of day. I liked that. Craftivism. Okay, so here is the thing. I am having another Craftivist afternoon, Sunday, November 4th from 2 to 4 p.m. Downtown Brew on 115th West Meeker in Puyallup. Bring a project that will create joy and warmth and comfort to someone in need. It is so important that we, community and togetherness and helping those who have less than we do. Because even if you don't think you have a lot, you probably have more than somebody else. And so it's good to share those things. I wanted to kind of ramble a bit about tolerance. And if you haven't listened to the Knitmore Girls episode this week, The Heart of Intersectionality, you absolutely should do so. Their Mother's Knows Best segments have been on civic engagement going up to this midterm election, and it's been awesome. And they did a really good job this week. So I'm kind of piggybacking off of them, and a lot of their stuff was about having constructive conversations with people who want to have a constructive conversation with you. Don't put yourself in the situation where you are having just bang your head against a wall arguments with people where it's not going to go anywhere. Nobody's going to reach a middle ground. Nobody's going to suddenly see your point of view or vice versa, and you're just going to get angry and not take care of yourself, which I absolutely agree with. But so I was on, my inspiration for this, I was on Instagram, and Will Wheaton of Star Trek Next Generation and Big Bang fame posted a picture of him holding up a certain finger in front of a certain president's tower somewhere in the country. And I did the internet faux pas thing where I read the comments, and a lot of it was people railing on liberal tolerance. So I wanted to talk a little bit about tolerance and a lot of stuff. So according to Google, the definition of tolerance is the ability or willingness to tolerate something, in particular the existence of opinions or behavior that one does not necessarily agree with. So the commenters on this celebrity's page did not agree with Will Wheaton's use of a adult gesture towards something that represents the president, or the president represents the tower, or whatever, and really started bashing. They started calling him names and critiquing his tolerance. And the Knitmores started out their segment last week with something along the lines of, you are entitled to your opinion and your feelings and your beliefs as long as they are not rooted in my oppression. whoever that is. And I think that's something that's really good to keep in mind as far as who's being tolerant and who's being intolerant, and where that is. Because, you know, I certainly have my very strong opinions, and there are things where I think we can absolutely have a conversation and figure it out, and, you know, how this policy should be spent, or what is the best way to format this and that, and, you know, do you like pineapple on your pizza or not on your pizza? Those sorts of things. How do you feel about black socks? I personally do not like black socks at all. They really gross me out. But you are more than welcome to walk and spend time in your presence with me while wearing your black socks. However, if you are spouting views of hate and discrimination that lessen other people, that is bullying people, if you are causing cruelty towards other people, if you are inciting fear in others while using other people as that scapegoat, that's not okay. And I am choosing to be intolerant of that behavior. That's fine. You're gonna call me a name? Okay. So that is kind of where I'm at that. And when you realize that we are all still figuring all of this stuff out, and nobody is shielded from society's biases and privileges and oppressions, and everybody's still learning. So I may not get it right. I may not be perfect in the world of acceptance and not hurting others or being blinded by my own privilege, but I am absolutely open to learning and trying, because by shutting that down, ignoring it, pretending it doesn't exist, I'm not doing good. And that's not okay with me. However, if you or someone else, obviously not my listeners and viewers, because you're amazing, if you are choosing to ignore your privilege or not hear other people's stories of oppression, or continue to do things that oppress them and minimalize them, and you're voting for policies and people that will do those things to others on a larger scale, I'm going to be intolerant of that. It is what it is. So that's my spiel on tolerance, and that we all need to make those choices and really think about what mental game we're putting forth into the world. But I do have some internet tips, because I learned in my social psychology class that even when you present people with documented evidence and facts and a very nice, well-rounded argument, a lot of times it just makes people believe what they already believe more. Like like people have done studies on this, that it's a thing. So I have found that one of the best ways for me to hold true to myself while still maintaining a healthy, happy demeanor towards the world, I deleted the Facebook app from my phone. One of the best decisions I ever made. I found myself waking up and grabbing for my phone and Facebook every single morning, and especially right after the Pulse nightclub shooting, it was pretty bad and pretty intense that I was getting into these raging arguments with people who weren't going to change their mind. And I was mad and angry all day long. So I deleted it. I still have Facebook. I have it on my iPad, but I don't have my iPad in my pocket all the time. And if I need to, I can pull up Facebook on Safari, but I usually don't. I still have the Messenger app, so the people that I'm Facebook friends with and have like a group chat or whatever, if that's my way of communicating with you, I can still do that because it's basically just like getting text messages. I still have the Pages app, so I can do podcasty and massagey things and run my businesses through Facebook still. But I'm not on my news feed scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and being mad. I don't need to be filled with that much rage all the time. It's not healthy. If you are going to keep the Facebook thing, use the unfollow button. You can really unfriend people, that's fine. I think it's funny because I can go through and see like my suggested friends and be like, we used to be friends, but look at that, okay, I guess you unfriended me probably around this election. Awesome. Use the unfollow button if you don't want to unfriend people. If it's that bad, absolutely unfriend them, but don't be afraid to remove the content that is filling you with rage from your life. You don't need it. And while it's good to have, of course, respectful discourse about differing opinions, just unfollow them. Because on the flip side of rage and argument, it's something that being able to post, for some people, it's their only outlet. I have a podcast, so I can be like, man, this tolerance thing is really something I want to speak to. So I thought about it, I looked up some stuff, and I'm talking to you about tolerance and how to not be a rage monster at the internet all the time. Not everybody has a podcast in order to do that. So when something happens in the world that they don't like, and they keep seeing things that they don't like, they have every right in the world to keep posting about it. And maybe instead of maybe unfollow them. Or if you want to see more animal posts in the world, find them yourself. There is no shortage of cute animal videos out there. Look them up yourself. Follow those sites that are posting cute puppy videos and things. Just fill your feed with the things you want to see. By removing Facebook, I spend way more time on Instagram. 96% of my Instagram is yarn. It's spinners, it's knitters, it's weavers, it's indie dyers and makers, and it always makes me happy. I like knowing what people are making. I like looking at pretty pictures of yarn. What's the new hot project? I get it all on Instagram. Happy, 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 happy. And then put your phone away and knit something. That is my last thing. Knit something, spin something, weave something, go bake cookies with your kids. Do something else. Of course, you should be calling your representatives, voting, all of that. But we can only do that for so many hours a day. Knit something. Go take a breather. So those are my handy dandy tips for tolerance and surviving the internet. I hope that made sense. Okay, book club. I've still been listening to a lot of Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, and mainly just reading for school. It's not been that exciting, but I am almost done with Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. I turned it off the other day because I kept getting distracted, so I need to go back to it. But I am almost done, which I think is the fastest I've made it through a Harry Potter audiobook yet. Contests. I have a contest. Let's see. It's called Just Vote. I will post a thread, and then you should take a picture of yourself voting. Outside the polling booth, selfie. You filled out your ballot and you're about to drop it off in the mailbox, selfie. And then post it in the Just Vote thread. If you do something like volunteer at a polling station, take a picture of yourself volunteering as well. If you are driving people to and from the polling station, somehow take a picture of it, document it somehow. If you are hosting a voting party, I know the Knitmores were saying bring your ballot and your voter pamphlet guide to your knitting group. I have some friends who are having a like scary movie marathon while they talk through the issues and vote and do all that. Hosting the party, going to a party, take a picture of all your friends and your ballots. Every time you post a picture of you doing something voting related, it gets you a new entry into the contest. What do you win? Well, Myra of Fancy Image Yarn donated a skein of her sock yarn in the Ravelry Gone Wild base, or Ravelry Gone Wild colorway, and it's like gray with all sorts of fun speckly colors, and it's super duper pretty. So you should take a picture of yourself voting and enter yourself to win some yarn. You'll be doing good for the world, and you could win yarn. We love yarn. And then the winner will be randomly selected when I record on Monday, November 12th. Yeah, I think that's it for my contests. So yeah, vote. Take a picture with your ballot at the polling station, any other extra voting related activities that you are doing. Take those pictures too, and then post them in the thread. If you have more than one picture, make additional posts so that it each has a number that I can put into a random number generator. Events, Craftivist Afternoon, Sunday, November 4th from 2 to 4 p.m. at Downtown Brew at 115 West Meeker, Puyallup. Come hang out and drink coffee, and they have TV there if you need to watch the football. The football game was on when we were there last week, and it should be a good time. I will also be at Madrona in Tacoma, Washington, February 14th through the 17th. I am planning to be there on that Saturday. I should be there for all, if not the majority, of the marketplace hours. My knitting group and I usually find a table out in that lobby area and camp out for the day. So come say hi there. I will also be at Stitches West that following weekend. Anna will also be at Stitches West with me, so I'm super excited. And if you see me and Anna, come say hi and what's up and all of that good stuff. Whew. That was a lot. Thank you for hanging out with me. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, you can email them to me at backstageknitting@gmail.com. Show notes can be located at backstageknitting.com. You can find me on the social media as Backstage Knitting Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, and Periscope, and Instagram. Come join our Ravelry group. I want to hear and see all of you, and I think it'll be a good time. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button no matter what media you are listening to. So have a great week, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.